long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away.
So today I thought, take a departure from talking about what could or could not be happening at Lucasfilm to talk about the interim period between A New Hope or Star Wars and The Empire Strikes Back. And fan fiction is wild on it. You could go to any fan fiction site and see everybody's speculations. And I kind of want to talk a little bit about why people are not quite sure and what could have happened in the 3 years between those two movies. We know that from the scroll on the screen that the Empire had the rebels on the run, that it's a dark time for the rebellion because they're kind of not in a place where they can do anything but play defense, which is actually a very smart and wise decision. Hit and run. Don't set it up to where you've got all your eggs in one basket and then get yourself, wiped out. So what happened? There are books about what happened between Empire and A New Hope. I think one called Scoundrels, where, and this is, I would say, C canon. It's not even really B canon. It's a so-called Legends book, which, you know how I feel about that label. Han and Chewie leave with a reward. Run into Lando, and I'm just giving you the very out, whatever. And they end up losing all the money. And Han meets up with Winter, who's, I say canon, Leia's best friend and basically adopted sister, who says Leia will take you back, which is why this was kind of how they explained why he stayed with the rebellion. Now, because I think I understand George Lucas a little more than I think a lot of people do, it's an interesting story. Scoundrels is interesting. But there's a story also called Honor Among Thieves, and there's a woman named Scarlet Hark, who's a rebel spy, and Han is forced to team up with her, and he goes with her, and they end up finding out something that was not good for Leia, and they go to where it's going to happen, and he saves Leia and the rebel leaders that were going to be at this meeting. The Empire had tried to trap them. And Scarlet and Han find out, and there you go. Okay. And Scarlet says to him, she's a lucky woman to have, basically, subtext is, you really do love her, she's lucky. Okay. Now, why does Han stay? Of course, again, like I said, we have a lot of fan fiction talking about this. My 2 cents is I don't think he ever left. I read some interesting theories in like some of the stories I've read where Liz complaining about him and General Riken says to her, he gave the money back. Why didn't he go off to pay Jabba the Hutt? And my opinion is he didn't leave because he was in love with Leia. That's my opinion. And I honestly think that's probably the best scenario, and by the time Empire shows up, he decides that it's just not going to happen, so he leaves. You have to remember, though, Leia, if you look at her character, she's lost everything. Her entire culture is gone in a brutal act of genocide by the Empire. And she's very reluctant to share herself with anybody. Luke is her age, they're basically sort of, they're obviously brother and sister even back then. And a lot of people like to take the fact that they didn't know they were brother and sister. But she kind of uses Luke as a crash helmet. She cares about him, but she's not in love with him. Okay. It's obviously, when you watch The Empire Strikes Back, Luke is being used as a crash helmet because she's afraid of what she feels for Han is real, and she couldn't handle the heartbreak. I mean, she's protecting herself. Now, did Luke go back on to Tatooine before Return of the Jedi? Well, we have deleted scenes where he's putting together his green lightsaber. Whose crystal was it? Where did he get it? Did he go back to Obi-Wan Kenobi's hut, go through it, and get all of his, notebooks and flimsies and other Jedi artifacts? And he found Qui-Gon Jinn's crystal. That's a theory. Or did he go before? He obviously his goal is to become a Jedi. And this is the journey that he's been on since he met Obi-Wan Kenobi and realized who his father was. And he doesn't, at this moment, have a master to teach him how to be a Jedi. So Luke he's growing stronger in the Force, but he doesn't know what to do with it because there's no one there of experience who will show him what to do with it. Okay. So let's go further.
For 10 long weeks, the Star Wars company labored on the suburban London sound stages, bringing to life a film that had begun as an idea with George Lucas 3 years before.
So, while Luke is kind of confused, growing in power, he's got his dad's lightsaber, the Skywalker lightsaber. Han and Leia are growing in this relationship, whether either of them wanted it or not. And, there are fan fictions out there saying Han didn't want it either. But then you got to ask yourself again, why didn't he leave to pay off Jabba? Did he leave to pay off Jabba and then come back? What happened to the reward? These are things that Lucasfilm, if they ever wanted to do adventures, I would say animated. But please don't make Han Solo look like the Clone Wars animation. As much as I love the show and the stories, the likenesses of the characters is atrocious. Okay, they have to look the way the actors looked. Okay, again, I'm OCD about consistency. That's a problem of mine. Don't get mad at me. But why didn't Han leave? What did Luke do to try to learn more about who Anakin Skywalker was? Then we have Vader. There's a comic book out. I don't read the comics because Marvel Comics sucks. But there's one where Vader sends Boba Fett out to find out who the guy was that blew up the Death Star. And Boba Fett says his name is Skywalker. And Vader freaks out. And the Emperor finds out that Anakin's son is alive. So then we've got that little thread. What's going on with that? Vader apparently has been running around the galaxy looking for Luke. For a good reason. Now we've got back to Han and Leia. Han doesn't leave the rebellion. He's been there 3 years. And the thing with Leia and him is very, I think, confusing for him. It's frustrating for him. She's terrified. Okay, again, she's lost everything. Okay, she's got this big, incredibly handsome guy she knows he's crazy about her. And he is there, and he's in love with her. And everybody knows it. I mean, Mon Mothma knows it. And the thing about it, when you start thinking about that, is what does Leia do? Because again, her journey, because she's already kind of a hero, is journey into adulthood. And I mean, a lot of Han has that journey going for him too. But this is very much a journey into adulthood for him and also for Luke. Luke doesn't really become a man until the end of The Empire Strikes Back. Han Solo is, but again, when you start thinking of his upbringing, if you look at Legends and how he survived the galaxy, why on earth would he be interested in staying around the rebellion? But he's also a big-hearted fool, and he really likes Leia a lot. And that's the issue there. Okay, now I talk about Luke. Luke is looking for a master. Luke is looking for someone to teach him how to be a Jedi. He's got Vader pursuing him. He doesn't know why, and I don't really think there's nothing in any of the A, B, definitely not in A canon, because that's the first 6 movies, and Clone Wars, Rebels, Ahsoka, Mandalorian, and Kenobi. He doesn't know Vader's searching for him at all, okay? He doesn't know who he is. And again, this is not only just a journey of searching for someone to teach him how to be a Jedi, what a Jedi is. It's also searching for an identity. You know, did he have the slicers for the rebellion get into the old Jedi archives and bring up stuff about Anakin? He might have. Okay? Because when you watch The Empire Strikes Back and they bring up Anakin, there is a sense of knowledge of who Anakin was as a Jedi to Luke, okay? And, you know, when we get into Return of the Jedi, Luke knows exactly who his father was. So he probably did some digging and had slicers do some research for him. He might have even known what he looked like. He might have actually seen holocrons of him. We don't know. Okay, so he knows who Anakin is. What he doesn't know and what he's not aware of is who Anakin became. As far as the galaxy was concerned, he was killed by Vader's apprentice, or by Vader, okay? They didn't realize Vader was Anakin, okay? And Obi-Wan wasn't going to tell Luke because he wasn't ready to find out. Okay? He wasn't ready for that. That's like, in the middle of World War II, you've got this young guy who's fighting for, you know, the Third Army, and he's a hero and everybody loves him, and he finds out Hitler's his father, you know? Come on, man. You gotta be kidding me. So these are all the things that are going on in between A New Hope, Star Wars, and The Empire Strikes Back. This burgeoning romance between Han and Leia, the flirtation, the can't decide stuff, you know, the questions, why didn't Han just go and pay off Jabba and then come back? You know, the fact that, look, I take the legend story about Han Solo, the A.C. Crispin trilogy, as canon because it fits who he is. Okay? Han tries to pretend that he's a callous, cold character. And yet, faced with his friend Dulana's death, faced with his girlfriend Bria Theron leaving, faced with her return, saving Chewbacca, there's more to him than who he pretends there is. And he knows that. So the Han Solo you meet in A New Hope is a facade, okay? The man underneath it is who he really is. And I think that explains who he is better than any sort of dumpster fire that came after. And it definitely does explain a lot more about who he is than that piece of shit movie Solo. Okay? We've got Leia. She's a rebel leader. She's on the shit list for the Empire. Okay, they're pissed. She has, again, a personal journey to figure out who she is, to become the woman that can deal with a heavy burden, the loss of the planet of Alderaan, loss of her family, and the growing relationship she has with Han Solo. Okay, she's afraid. She's protecting her heart. That's Leia's thing. Okay, and she instinctively knows he cares because, he's always there to save her. He's always there to get her someplace faster than anybody else could, because the Falcon is, by the way, illegally using military hyperdrive, souped up military hyperdrive. And we got Luke. His search is for who he is too. His search is to become a Jedi, to find out what the Force really is, and to find a master. And when we get to The Empire Strikes Back, Han and Luke are very important to the rebellion. You can imagine the missions that they were given by the high command, things that Leia had to have them do, worried that they'd never come back, things like that. Okay, Leia having, very young, 20 years old, having to make decisions that put men's lives on the line. Han and Luke are very eager to be brave and courageous. Right? That's what they are. They're fully formed male human beings with a penchant to do basically the thing they need to do to get the job done, to help foster the fall of the Empire. Okay? And when you think about it, there's not even any hatred for what the Empire did. It's just the Empire is evil, and it was created by an evil man, and it has to go. And that's what Han and Luke do throughout the interim time between A New Hope and Empire. Okay? And Leia doing the same thing. If you go to the point where you hate your enemy so much you're blinded by it, you're not going to be successful. Okay? Grand Admiral Thrawn could teach us all a lesson on that. Okay? He is there to bring to safeguard the Empire. Think about it. Okay? Leia is there to bring down the fall of the Empire and safeguard the galaxy. This is not Saw Gerrera bullshit, fanatical bullshit. Okay, this is bigger than that. Okay, so I kind of wanted to do a fun video. It's long, I know, but I thought you guys had fun with it. And I'm really looking at Disney saying this is where you should go. And it doesn't, again, have to be live action. You could actually get, the Walt Disney Animation Studios to actually do a drawn, normal animated show, which would be cool. And look, I've always wanted to do a video about the history of animation, and I might do it, because people who mock it, and there are a lot of black pills who do, are unaware of its history, animation's importance to filmmaking, and the fact that the first people who actually saw animation were adults, because cartoons like Betty Boop, etc., were for adults. Hell, the Bugs Bunny 7-minute shorts were part of the adult entertainment. You go to a movie, you go and see one of those, you'd see maybe The Perils of Pauline or whatever, or, some other adventure, Buck Rogers, etc., and then you'd watch the feature, okay? That's what animation started as, Okay, so kids animation like SpongeBob, SquarePants, and the rest of that is just for kids, all right? But animation is a very important art form within filmmaking, and it's very much an adult, grown-up kind of thing to think about, all right? So if you are complaining about animation, you're an idiot, okay? And maybe that's where they could go to fill in the 3-year period. This is Steph signing out. I'll see you around the galaxy.